Welcome to True Crime Threads, where dark secrets and shocking betrayals unravel. Today, we dive into the twisted tale of a pilot's affair, a vengeful sheikh, and a revenge plot that will leave you speechless. The story begins with Captain Azari Khan, a 34-year-old commercial airline pilot, living what seemed like a dream life. Based in Dubai, Azari flew for one of the world's most luxurious airlines, rubbing shoulders with the elite. Her career was soaring, and her social life was equally dazzling. She was known for her charm, confidence, and ambition. Azari had worked tirelessly to reach this point, overcoming countless challenges in a male-dominated industry. Her sharp skills and dedication had earned her the respect of her peers and the admiration of her passengers. But beneath the surface, Azari harbored a secret. During one of her layovers in Dubai, she caught the attention of Sheikh Khalid Al Maktoum, a wealthy and influential member of the royal family. The sheikh was known for his extravagant lifestyle and his penchant for surrounding himself with beautiful, accomplished women. Azari, with her striking looks and commanding presence, immediately stood out to him. Their first encounter was at an exclusive party hosted by the airline for its top-tier clients. The sheikh, accustomed to getting what he wanted, approached Azari with a mix of charm and authority. He complimented her on her skills as a pilot, a rarity in his world, and expressed his fascination with her career. Azari, flattered by his attention, found herself drawn to his charisma and the allure of his world. What started as a casual flirtation soon turned into a full-blown affair. The sheikh would arrange for Azari to be assigned to flights that aligned with his schedule, ensuring they could spend time together in luxurious private suites and on lavish vacations. Azari was swept up in the opulence and power the sheikh offered, enjoying the perks of his wealth and influence. However, Azari knew the relationship was dangerous. The sheikh was a married man with a reputation to uphold, and any scandal could have severe consequences. She was careful to keep their affair hidden, but the thrill of secrecy only added to the excitement. Despite her growing feelings for the sheikh, Azari remained focused on her career, determined not to let the relationship jeopardize her hard-earned position. She continued to excel at work, earning praise from her superiors and maintaining her professional demeanor. But as the affair deepened, Azari began to notice subtle changes in the sheikh's behavior. He became more possessive, demanding her complete loyalty and attention. He would often question her about her interactions with other men, especially her co-pilot, James Carter, whom he viewed as a potential rival. Azari tried to reassure the sheikh, but his jealousy and controlling nature started to weigh on her. She found herself walking a tightrope, balancing her demanding job, her secret relationship, and the growing pressure from the sheikh. Despite the challenges, Azari couldn't bring herself to end the affair. The sheikh's world was intoxicating, and she was reluctant to give up the privileges it afforded her. But as time went on, Azari began to question whether the relationship was worth the risks. Little did she know, her life was about to take a dark and unexpected turn, one that would test her resilience and force her to confront the consequences of her choices. The glamorous life she had built was on the brink of collapse, and the secrets she had worked so hard to keep would soon come to light in the most shocking way. Azari's co-pilot, James Carter, had been her trusted colleague for years. The two shared a professional bond, working seamlessly together in the cockpit and earning a reputation as one of the airline's most reliable pilot teams. James, a meticulous and observant man, had always admired Azari's dedication and skill. Over time, they had developed a friendship built on mutual respect and trust. However, James began to notice subtle changes in Azari's behavior. She seemed more distracted than usual, often lost in thought during flights, and less engaged in their usual post-flight debriefs. He also noticed her taking mysterious phone calls, stepping away to speak in hushed tones, and sometimes disappearing for hours during layovers without explanation. At first, James dismissed these changes as personal matters Azari preferred to keep private. But as the weeks went by, his concern grew. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One day, while preparing for a flight, James overheard Azari whispering about a private meeting in Dubai. Her tone was urgent, and she seemed anxious, which was unlike the confident and composed Azari he knew. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to dig deeper. James began paying closer attention to Azari's movements, noting the times she would leave the hotel during layovers and the luxury cars that occasionally picked her up. He also noticed her receiving expensive gifts, like designer handbags and jewelry, which she would quickly tuck away. James's suspicions deepened when he overheard a conversation between two flight attendants discussing Azari's frequent visits to a private villa in Dubai. The attendants speculated about her involvement with someone powerful, but they didn't have any concrete details. Determined to uncover the truth, James discreetly followed Azari during one of her layovers. He watched as she entered a high-end restaurant and was escorted to a private table where Sheikh Khalid Al Maktoum was waiting. The sight confirmed James's worst fears. Azari was involved with one of the most influential and dangerous men in Dubai. James knew the risks of confronting Azari directly. The Sheikh's influence extended far beyond his wealth, and any misstep could have severe consequences for both Azari and himself. Instead, James decided to approach the situation cautiously. He began dropping subtle hints during their conversations, expressing concern for her well-being, and warning her about the dangers of getting involved with powerful figures. Azari, however, dismissed his concerns, insisting that everything was under control and that she knew what she was doing. Her dismissive attitude only fueled James's worry, but he felt powerless to intervene further. As time went on, James noticed Azari becoming increasingly isolated. She withdrew from their usual camaraderie, spending more time alone and avoiding conversations about her personal life. James couldn't shake the feeling that Azari was in over her head, but he didn't know how to help her without risking his own career and safety. Little did he know, his growing concern for Azari would soon draw him into a web of deception and danger, one that would test his loyalty and force him to confront the dark side of the world Azari had become entangled in. The stakes were higher than he could have imagined, and the consequences of his actions would ripple far beyond the cockpit. As Azari's affair with Sheikh Khalid deepened, she began to see a darker side of him that she hadn't noticed before. The initial allure of his wealth and power started to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The Sheikh was no longer the charming, attentive man she had first met. Instead, he became increasingly possessive and controlling, demanding her complete loyalty and attention. He would often question her about her interactions with other men, especially her co-pilot, James Carter, whom he viewed as a potential rival. Azari tried to reassure him, but his jealousy only seemed to intensify. She found herself constantly walking on eggshells, careful not to say or do anything that might provoke his anger. The Sheikh's demands extended beyond their private moments. He began to interfere with her work, using his influence to ensure she was assigned to flights that aligned with his schedule. Azari felt trapped, torn between her career and the suffocating grip of the relationship. She tried to maintain her professionalism at work, but the stress of balancing her double life began to take its toll. Her once sharp focus started to waver, and she found herself making small mistakes during flights, mistakes that didn't go unnoticed by James. He continued to watch her closely, his concern growing with each passing day. Meanwhile, James's own investigation into the Sheikh's background revealed troubling details. Through discreet inquiries and conversations with colleagues, he uncovered rumors about the Sheikh's ruthless nature. Stories of blackmail, manipulation, and even violence began to surface. One particularly chilling account involved a former employee of the Sheikh who had mysteriously disappeared after threatening to expose his unethical business practices. James also learned that the sheikh had a history of using his wealth and influence to silence anyone who crossed him. The more James uncovered, the more he realized the danger Azari was in. He knew he had to act, but he was unsure of how to approach the situation without putting both of them at risk. Azari, on the other hand, was becoming increasingly isolated. The sheikh's controlling behavior had driven a wedge between her and her colleagues, including James. She stopped confiding in him, fearing that any slip-up could lead to disastrous consequences. The once strong bond they shared as co-pilots began to erode, replaced by a tense and awkward dynamic. Azari's health also started to decline. She was constantly fatigued, her immune system weakened by the stress of her secret life. She dismissed it as the result of her demanding job, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Unbeknownst to Azari, the sheikh had his own secrets, ones that would soon unravel in the most shocking way. He had been hiding a critical piece of information from her, one that would change the course of her life forever. As Azari struggled to maintain her composure, the walls of her carefully constructed world began to close in around her. The glamorous life she had once cherished was now a gilded cage, and the man she had trusted was far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. The stage was set for a dramatic and devastating revelation, one that would force Azari to confront the harsh reality of her choices and the consequences they would bring. One fateful day, Azari's life took a devastating turn when she discovered she had contracted HIV. The diagnosis came after weeks of unexplained fatigue, recurring illnesses, and a growing sense that something was seriously wrong. When the doctor delivered the news, Azari was shattered. She had always been careful about her health and couldn't understand how this had happened. Her mind raced as she tried to piece together the possible sources of the infection. The only explanation that made sense was her relationship with Sheikh Khalid. Confronting him was the only way to get answers, but she dreaded the conversation. When Azari finally mustered the courage to confront the sheikh, his reaction was cold and calculated. He admitted to knowing about his condition but had deliberately hidden it from her. His callousness was staggering. He showed no remorse, no guilt, only a chilling indifference to the pain he had caused. Azari felt a wave of betrayal and anger unlike anything she had ever experienced. The man she had trusted, the man she had allowed into her life, had knowingly put her at risk without a second thought. Devastated and furious, she ended the affair on the spot, vowing to never see him again. But the sheikh wasn't one to let go easily. He had a twisted sense of pride and a penchant for revenge, and Azari's rejection only fueled his desire to punish her. The sheikh's revenge was as calculated as it was cruel. Using his vast influence, he orchestrated a plan to destroy both Azari and James, whom he saw as a threat to his control over her. First, he framed James for leaking confidential airline information. Fake evidence was planted, and anonymous tips were sent to the airline's management. James was suspended pending an investigation, his reputation tarnished overnight. Azari, still reeling from her own ordeal, was unaware of the sheikh's involvement in James's downfall. She was too consumed by her own pain to see the bigger picture. But the sheikh wasn't finished. He took his revenge a step further by planting evidence suggesting that James had knowingly transmitted HIV to Azari. The fabricated story was designed to turn Azari against her co-pilot, exploiting her vulnerability and anger. When Azari received an anonymous tip about James's alleged actions, she was blindsided. The betrayal cut deep, and in her fragile state, she believed the lies. Consumed by rage and heartbreak, Azari cut ties with James, refusing to speak to him or hear his side of the story. The once strong bond they shared as colleagues and friends was shattered, replaced by bitterness and mistrust. James, meanwhile, was left to grapple with the fallout of the sheikh's scheme. His career was in ruins, his reputation destroyed, and his friendship with Azari irreparably damaged. He tried to reach out to her to explain that he had been set up, but she refused to listen. The Sheikh's plan had worked perfectly. Azari and James were isolated, their lives in shambles, and their trust in each other obliterated. But the Sheikh's cruelty didn't end there. He continued to monitor Azari, ensuring she remained under his control even as she tried to rebuild her life. The weight of his manipulation was suffocating, and Azari felt more trapped than ever. As the days turned into weeks, Azari's health continued to decline. The stress of her situation took a toll on her body, and she struggled to find the strength to keep going. But deep down, a spark of defiance began to grow. She knew she couldn't let the Sheikh win, not after everything he had taken from her. The stage was set for a reckoning, one that would force Azari to confront the truth and fight back against the man who had destroyed her life. The question was whether she could find the courage to do so before it was too late. Months after the devastating fallout, Azari's life was in shambles. Her health continued to deteriorate, and the emotional scars from her ordeal with Sheikh Khalid weighed heavily on her. She had lost her confidence, her sense of self, and the career she had worked so hard to build. The airline, wary of the scandal surrounding her and James, had quietly sidelined her, assigning her to fewer flights and keeping her out of the public eye. Azari felt like a shadow of her former self, isolated and broken. But just when it seemed like there was no way out, a glimmer of hope appeared in the form of an anonymous package delivered to her doorstep. The package contained a stack of documents, photographs, and a handwritten note. As Azari sifted through the contents, her heart raced. The documents detailed Sheikh Khalid's elaborate scheme to destroy her and James. There were bank records showing payments to individuals who had planted false evidence, emails outlining the plan to frame James, and even photographs of the Sheikh meeting with the people responsible for the conspiracy. The handwritten note, though unsigned, urged Azari to take action and expose the truth. For the first time in months, she felt a surge of determination. This was her chance to fight back. Azari knew she couldn't do it alone. Swallowing her pride, she reached out to James, who had been struggling to clear his name and rebuild his life. At first, James was hesitant to trust her, still hurt by her refusal to believe him when he needed her most. But as Azari showed him the evidence, his skepticism turned to resolve. Together, they pieced together the full extent of the Sheikh's crimes, uncovering a web of deceit and manipulation that went far beyond their personal ordeal. They realized that the Sheikh had used his power to ruin countless lives, and they were determined to bring him to justice. With the help of a journalist who had been investigating the Sheikh's corrupt dealings, Azari and James prepared to expose the truth. They knew the risks. Sheikh Khalid was a powerful man with connections in high places, but they were willing to take the chance. The journalist helped them compile their evidence into a damning report, which was published in a major international newspaper. The story sent shockwaves through Dubai and beyond, revealing the Sheikh's crimes to the world. Public outrage grew, and pressure mounted on authorities to take action. The fallout was swift and severe. Sheikh Khalid's reputation was destroyed, and his influence crumbled as investigations into his activities began. He was stripped of his titles and faced multiple charges, including fraud, blackmail, and endangerment. For Azari and James, the victory was bittersweet. While they had succeeded in bringing the Sheikh to justice, the scars of their ordeal remained. Azari's health continued to be a challenge, and James's career had been irreparably damaged. But they found solace in the fact that they had stood up to their oppressor and reclaimed their dignity. In the end, Azari and James found closure, but the experience had changed them forever. They had learned the hard way about the dangers of power, manipulation, and revenge. As they moved forward with their lives, they carried with them the lessons of their struggle, determined to rebuild and find peace. The documentary ends with a chilling reminder of how easily lives can be shattered by those who wield power without conscience, and how the courage to fight back can lead to redemption.